welcome all to the last day of our international webinar series, Transcending Borders, Finding Cinematic Voices, organized by the Department of Visual Media and Communication at Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, Kochi. And I invite Dr. U. Krishna Kumar, the director of our campus and the dean of our faculty in the university, to speak a few words about this series.
Sure, my humble prostrations at the lotus feet of Bilvarama, Chancellor and humanitarian, world-renowned humanitarian leader, and Divine Mother to millions of her followers. Amma has been always encouraging the international interactions among the professionals, both for the benefit of the university and the students and staff, as well as for the society as a whole. So as part of the ongoing webinar series, we have met on the online platform, and this is probably the last among the webinars. So my humble pranams to the most respected Awat Osman, filmmaker and academician, and to Dr. Shemin, who has been instrumental in arranging these interactions. And it is most gratifying that all these interactions have been cutting across the borders, rightly justifying the very title of the webinar series itself, Transcending Borders. And the cinematic voices have been one of the most important media for transcending the borders and sharing across the views of those cinematic representations. And today we have Awat Osman, filmmaker and academician, who will be focusing on the topic Cinema Identity for Fragmented Nation. Before the formal welcome and introduction by Dr. Shemin, I extend to you, sir, on behalf of the Amrita Vishwavidyapitham University and on behalf of the Faculty of Arts, Media and Commerce, and on behalf of the Kochi campus of the Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, where we have a very strong presence of the visual media interactions through the Department of Visual Media and Communication. And I hope and pray that this session will be extremely beneficial to the knowledge seekers in this area of film. And let me also welcome Dr. Shemin and all the faculty members and students who have joined us online. And also let me wish and pray for a brilliant career for Awat Osman, and all the best. And I request Dr. Shemin to take over from me. My humble pranams, everyone.
Actually, it's again a moment of indeed pleasure that I could welcome a very great friend of mine, Mr. Awat Osman Ali, who's a filmmaker, who's an editor, a director, whatnot in the field of arts. He's also makeup. I mean, he's a qualified makeup artist. He's into visual effects and everything. So he's like kind of a total package for filmmaking. And we have been together at the University of Bournemouth doing a PhD together under the same supervisor, and I've worked as a cinematographer in his film as well. So Talking about Awat, he has done a master's in visual effects at University of South Wales with a distinction. Also, he has done a master in filmmaking at Northern Film School, a postgraduate diploma in cinematography and post-production at Greenwich University, and a BA from Middlesex University, and a diploma in filmmaking in WAES. Also, he is an academic. He has been teaching at several universities, both in Kurdistan and in the UK. So he has worked in more than 50 works, films. So both as he's very strong both in terms of the academia and also the practice. And I mean, personally knowing him, he's a person who is looking forward to bring a great change to the practices in the Kurdish film industry. And I know where his research interest stands, and he wants to revolutionize the whole themes and narratives that has been constantly being discussed in the Kurdish films. And so yeah, I mean, indeed a great pleasure welcoming Awat Osman. I'll just play a short video introducing him. And yeah, thank you. Welcome, Awad. It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Shamin. Like always, we meet again this time through internet. This is our jet, basically, because we cannot fly to India or easily make the lecture in person. So we use this facility, which is nowadays in all of the world, people using it for lecturing and meeting and talking to beloved one. So thanks for technology anyway. I'm glad to give this brief lecture to your student and the faculty. Basically, I missed lecturing because since last year I haven't done any lecturing because I am busy with my research and also developing my second feature film. Uh, uh, it's good to share our history and history of filmmaking, history of our nation to a great country like India, because I have been in India and I have been in Mumbai and I know about the film industry in India. And also I have a friend like yours, few friends like yours who work in the industry and academician in your country, India. Basically today, as we have a limited time, I'm only focusing on few elements in Kurdish cinema, like history and identity of our nation, why we have an invisible identity uh, for our fragmented nation, and cinema how can help to reunite this identity and to give a visible identity for our nation. That's what I am focusing on today. As I only talk 15 to 20 minutes, I will give plenty of time for your student to ask me any question in regard of practicing film in my country in Kurdistan, and also about the history of film and developing the film in our industry, how we are now at the moment. So I'm sharing my screen at the moment with you guys to see what I am covering today. Okay. I'm talking about Kurdish identity through cinema. Basically, Kurds, until the moment we are talking, we do not have a clear identity. How? Because as we know, all identity is, we can identify a nation through a land, language, geographical position, historical, political element, and this plays in United Nations, and all of that element uh, has an impact of an identity for a nation. Kurds always took our identity from us by another nation surrounding us, like Turks, Arab, and Persian, because we've been surrounded by this four countries: Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Turkey. After Ottoman Empire in 1919, when the agreement happened called Lausanne, they divided Kurdistan in four countries. They divided to part of Iraq, north of Iraq, which is we call it South Kurdistan, and North Kurdistan to South Turkey, to Turkey, and West Kurdistan to Iran, to Syria, and East Kurdistan to Syria, sorry, West Kurdistan to Iran. So when they divided us, we like a four baby, actually four baby. They born the same mother, but each baby it goes to a different family. Any family they have a plan how they bring this child to the life, to taught them how to live, how to communicate with the community, how to put his impact to society. All of that stuff have a how they communicate with each other later on after they reunited. Now we all speak the same language, which is Kurdish. Good. We still keep the language. They try to take it from us. And also the second things, we do have some culture. Again, it's good, but politically, not all of us have the same freedom because, for instance, in Turkey, Kurdish people not allowed to study in Kurdish. So not allowed to speak in Kurdish loudly. So it means most of the new generation, they do not speak Kurdish in Turkey. And Iran, same. They speak Kurdish, but they do not study Kurdish. They have to study in Persian. So everybody speak Persian, but they do not write Kurdish because they don't study Kurdish. In Syria, even not now, I'm talking about before the Arab Spring happened, they were not even have a citizenship. They were called second citizen in the country. They do not have any right to buy land in the country. They do not have right to travel, to go anywhere, to do nothing in the country. But when the Arab Spring happened, the Kurdish people fought for their right, and they fighted ISIS as well, and now they have a little state. So it means only two part of our country do have a state. Kurdistan of Iraq, which is my part, we do have our own government and everything, and Syria, which is they do have little self-dependency. This is a historical part. In regard of cinema, how this historical traumatic moment affected our ability to make films. We've been fragmented, as I said in the beginning, we've been fragmented as a nation. Geographically and historically, politically, we've been fragmented. And we do not have union identity for Kurdistan as a country because, as I said, the four baby is being divided for four family. So each one, we do have our different way to express ourselves politically and culturally. When we're coming to the film, it is the same. Kurdistan of north of Iraq, which is a South Kurdistan, we do have a way to tell our story because we have a way we fought Saddam Hussein, which is a Ba'ath party, for past decades, few decades. And we have been genocided twice. In chemical bomb, 1988, 16th of March, and also 1988 in April, they buried alive 182,000 human, children, old men, and women. Yeah, they buried alive, man, young people. So we don't know what happened to them. Still, some of them, they don't have a graveyard. So that's why, in my part, when we talk to cinema, to talk about the film, we always focusing on victimhood, which is talking about genociding, what happened to our nation. That's what we are. That's our identity. So our identity for Kurdish nation in this part was based in our victimhood. So we always talked, how did we been through, how did we survive, and how did we fought for our right, and how been genocided. So the world know us through the story, which is, I don't want it personally to be known by victimhood, but that's a fact. We've been victimized and we have a genocide. So if I talk about the first Kurdish film, it's 1927, it's called Zara. It was a silent movie, but there's a gap between 27 and the first ever Kurdish film, which is 1980, came to the world in Cannes Film Festival, Yilmaz Bunai made. That we call it, there's a discussion between which one's the first Kurdish film. We all agree Zara is the first Kurdish film, but which one of them well known and recognized in the world has participated in Cannes Film Festival? The Yol, it means way, the way, which is participated in Cannes Film Festival and he got 2 awards. And since then, because in Turkey, not allowed to speak Kurdish, so most of the film has been made in Turkish language. So even it's a Kurdish story, but they speak Turkish. Until when we've been allowed again in 2000, 1999, when Bahman Kubadi, again, he told the world we are a victim. So it means we showed ourselves how we are a victim in past 100 years. Our story is still to the world, show Kurds as a victim, nothing else. So I am coming to the way how we need to change that. Trauma and victimhood is a part of our life, but we need to change why we are thinking this. What make us think? Why we do think? Yeah, so there's a psychological tool we need to have it to go out from this circulation of victimhood and express ourselves in a different way. And I am using term is called purify. How can film do purify in a spiritual world to come out this trauma from us and talk about another story which we do have and a cultural interest and build a cinematic language. And we have to witness a human story as a Kurds for our nation. We have to know that. And as a filmmaker, we do need to understand the way we do the storytelling. And because basically, this is a general question we do need to ask ourselves, what our story about? Usually our story is all about we've been victimized, we've been kidnapped by the government, like Iraqi government, and they put us in prison and we die in prison, or they took 182,000 people in from my nation. We have 5 million people, so almost 5% of our population took by Iraqi government in a different way. They buried alive and they killed, they put them in prison. They so destroyed our village. So that's what our story about. And because we do documentation, it means we're documenting our history. Does all the story make sense? This is a question we need to ask because we do repeating ourselves in several ways. I know there's some agreement and disagreement about Holocaust. They made hundreds of films about, but they always show a hero and saw their tragedy. So that's what I am fighting now, to tell the story from a hero's perspective, to follow the hero, not just documenting our nation's trauma. And if even we show that, the problem be solved? No, we stayed in the same circulation still. Because we telling ourselves to plead, we are a victim, we're still a victim. So it means psychological point of view, as a human, Kurdish, as we stay in a victimhood. We didn't go out from the circulation. And even audience, our audience doesn't want to see the same story, which is mentally affected our psychologically as a human. I don't want to talk about general things. I'm just coming back to the other three part. That's my part, Kurdistan. And in Turkey, as I said, they didn't have. They didn't have. 1 second. They didn't have any.
Sorry for the interruption. Are you trying to do a presentation or something? You have a slide?
I did it. Did I share
no,
it?
it's not. It's not showing. It's not showing.
Oh, I was going through the presentation. Sorry, in my.
Yeah, I had a doubt.
Yeah. So how
you got
do
to
I
basically click share content.
I did.
And there is an option. Do you have any sound? Yeah. Now it's clear.
Oh, okay.
Great.
So I have been through this already because I was reading from my screen. I thought I showed. Sorry about that. So this is a presentation I made it ready for you guys, and I have been through it, and I don't want to repeat it again.
No. Please just carry
So
on. Please continue.
that's what. Yes, and regarding the other part of Kurdistan, like Turkey, as I said, they do not allow to talk in Kurdish, so most of the film has been made in Turkish. So in Iran, there's a because there's a direct effect about the Kurdish Iranian cinema to our Kurdish nation in Iran, like we call it another part of Kurdistan, for example, like West Kurdistan, East Kurdistan, sorry, East Kurdistan. It means we do have they have a direct impact to their story, which is they make a same style of Iranian cinema, but they mostly talking about villagers, and again they show Kurds, they express Kurds as a victim, but not in a political way, in a sociological way. For example, talking about women issue and domestic violence, are talking about the border, smuggler, all. It means show Kurds as a victim again in a different way. It means they don't show Kurd as a hero or any other strong character, always showing a passive character. Uh, Regarding Syria, as I explained before, they do not have a power to have a citizenship, and they do not have a cinema. In Amuda, a long time ago, there's a cinema Kurdish people they do have. Even they burn it with the children on it. So Bashar Assad, between the government of Syria, they didn't let even to have a cinema on that time, not have a citizenship either cinema. So the only one part now they have a freedom, which is Kurdistan of Iraq. Since 1991, we do have our own government, our own parliament, but we do not have our fingerprint in cinema. So that's what I said. What was story about? This makes sense because we do documentation, and we do have a problem with the climax and the resolution. The dialogue we do have always, we do not have an active character to guide us to give a strong dialogue. So all of that issue still need to work on because cinema is very new for Kurdish. And as I said, historically, we do have a problem in like fragmented as a historically. So cinema again, if you don't have a strong identity as a nation, it will have you don't have a strong cinema as well. But now we get in there because there's a lot of academician or academician. They do research about Kurdish cinema, and there's a lot of practitioner which they do films and they experiment the way you have to tell the story. But still, as a contest, we do have a story about victimhood, which has to be changed. And a performance-wise, still we don't have a superstar or like a world star, superstar, well-known star, not like any other nation. If they do have a star known by the world, it's a very low. We do have a local people, and sometimes it's not believable the way they act. Because the character, they think they have been through this, so they don't act in the film. They be themselves as a victim. So sometimes they act themselves, not the character. So there's a agreement and disagreement between actor and character. They do not have a dialogue between them. You have always, as an actor, to talk to your character, to come as an agreement. I want to show myself this way in your team. This is another issue. I will stop my presentation and I will leave you guys for discussion because as I see it's about 20 minutes I am talking. I don't want to talk a lot, but answer anything the guy wants. How do I stop sharing? I don't know. How do I stop sharing?
You can come back to the presentation and there'll be an option to stop share.
Oh,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, great. Uh, so it was great work. I mean, it was really insightful to know about, how much of a trauma a land been through and how that seriously influences the uh, kind of stories that the nation got to say. So it's really inspirational story of a land, I should say. And I would open up the forum for discussions. Please raise your hand so that and ask your questions either in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and ask questions, please. Okay. So, what I would start asking, like, so, like, you discussed, the most of the films from the fragmented land is all about victimhood. But at the same time, you mentioned about, bringing up the heroic tales. But I mean, it's a very personal question. Like, what sort of stories you expect to, see from your land?
yeah.
I mean, what are you
Personally,
looking forward to?
exactly. I need to show a cultural interest, like to show Kurds as a human, not only as a victim. So that's what I am doing, to build a hero inside the tragedy, to follow the character, not follow the event. So most of the film is concentrating on the event of Halabja, for example, a chemical bomb happened, and we do documenting that things like a reconstruction, because we do have a document before, a real document. Now it look like we're reconstructing this document and show it again to the world. Uh, but in my point of view, if even I show Halabja, I need to show post-victimhood. What happened after that? How our character look like? How our hero can be survived? And tell us a hidden story inside this tragedy. There's a many examples. Uh, for example, there is a film called Son of Shaul. In Holocaust, we only follow this hero, this character, want to bury a son in a Jewish way instead of burn him. So we do forget about Holocaust. 1,000 people burned in the Hooven, but we will thinking only about this child to bury in a Jewish way. So that's what that kind of film I want to make. Even if I tell about victimhood, I need to tell it through the hero's point of view, and follow the hero. Don't have a passive character to tell the story. Have an active storyteller to cry with, to be brave with it, to love with, to go with him in this journey, to this hero's journey. That's the kind of story I expect.
Thank, uh, Thanks, Awad. So I'm a little curious to know, like, from a fragmented nation, like, from a land with pain, with a lot of, pains and trauma. Is it possible to tell stories of love and, or, romance or comedies, or, those sort of things? How much of a possibility do you see in there? Because I'm pretty sure that, in the realistic premises, there'll be a lot of comedies happening around, or there is a lot of romances still happening. So what is the possibility of identifying and portraying
Yes.
those kinds of genres?
Yeah,
And
we do have few example, few people who experiment in this kind of story. Uh, but as I said, because we do not have an history of that kind of drama in filmmaking history, So when we started, we used as a weapon to show the world, look, come, look at us, we are a victim. So, and still we are in this circulation, we stayed, we didn't break it. And most powerful filmmaker to see it in this point of view, say, this is the way we make film to show your nation what we've been through. So it means they're proud to show themselves as a victim. So even the nation themselves, still they want to show themselves as a victim. But this is in my point of view, this is a wrong way because there's many, as you said, many story has been not untold story like a comedy, romantic comedy, and some story drama, like for example, a illiterate woman become a midwife for 1,000 women, 1,000 child has born under her hand. This kind of story you need to tell. This kind of story, which is in a village, a love story, they do it hidden story. I done it personally. I have done that kind of love story and things not only in victimhood, because this is my belief it's different to other. I made film about victimhood as well as like any other filmmaker, but nowadays I am working on beyond victimhood. This is what my research about. I am working after victimhood as a human being, what we are, how we are. Do we still love? Do we still care for each other? Do we still laughing, comedian point of view, let's say we just do making joke or not? Do you care for each other? Do you go to graveyard? Do you say goodbye to each other? So like a human being, I need to concentrate on that story, not only in a victimhood. Yeah.
Thank you. So, any questions? Would appreciate, if you could initiate an interaction. Yeah, we have Shivata raising hand. Shivata, please unmute yourself and please ask your question.
Yes, sir. Namaskar, sir. Thank you so much for this a very insightful class. It was really amazing. So, sir, my question is, you talked about wanting to see films which are less about victimhood and from the hero's perspective. So, do you think this change is happening now? Is it happening now? And if it is not, then how do you think you can bring about that change in cinema in your plan?
Yeah. Thank you for this question. Basically, this is what I'm fighting for. Actually, is still some people they trying to work on that element in a hero inside tragedy or working beyond victimhood. But because I'm a researcher, I am doing a book and also PhD about that things which I'm doing as a practitioner as well. I'm not only a researcher, so it will be a good guide for new generation to see a reference. How can we go beyond this traumatic moment and beyond victimhood to make film as a human, not only on the circulation. So it's gonna be a, a little bit a long way to do, but it's not impossible. Everything is possible, but you need to have a start point. But now, as I said, the start point started already. People start making movie about uh, different things like a love story, a child has been lost from the family. They reunite. It's like kind of stereotype story from a Kurdish history, which we didn't see it before. But still, it's not good enough to change the identity of a Kurdish nation through cinema. To change this point of view of the world, we are only a victim, nothing else. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Shivata.
sir.
Thanks, Awat, for answering. And my question is like, So, I mean, please don't take it as a statement, but I personally find like stories, are the kind of films that has been coming from your part of the world. I mean, has been getting a good reception at the film festivals, and I possibly think telling these kind of stories about victimhood has got to ensure that it gets a good place in the film festivals as well. So in the time of OTT platforms and all these online avenues opening up for the film festival, do you think that could influence a difference, or that could signify a possible change in how stories got to be said?
Uh, exactly, that's the way which I want to tell before. The Because you got the passport of your film being recognized by the world when you work on the purpose of victim. Because that's what the West want to see you. Always want to see you as a victim because you need the West or America to come to help you. So they, it's politically, we do not have a clear mind why they want to see us like this. Media have a very bad negative influence to tell our filmmaker, our storyteller, to show ourselves only in this way, not in a different way. But they do not forget that we have been fought ISIS beside America for a couple of years. And when the US want us to show us not a victim, they say, "Oh, you are a good fighter." Like Donald Trump said, "Oh, you are a good fighter. You're fighting nice." It means they give us identity that what they want, not what we are. But the mistake our filmmaker do is only listen what the world want to recognize our film, to give us an award. I don't care personally about that stuff. Because if you have a beautiful picture to tell your story in a cinematic way, still you get an award, not from your concept. Because I am sure if you do a victimhood concept, because you have a very nasty story, what happened to us. If you show that kind of story, definitely there will be, uh, they think, oh my God, this is a curse. We need to do something about them. So they will give us an award. You know what I mean? So I am not on this route personally, but some filmmakers still, they are in the same boat.
No, my question is like how the OTT platforms, the online platforms like Netflix and those platforms are helping
So
to
we
change the
still,
kind of
still
stories.
don't, yeah, we still don't have a lot of subscription for Netflix because, you know, in Kurdistan is not like any modern country. Not everybody have a Visa card or credit card or business card, whatever it is, to do such subscription. And film is not a very, it's not like India. I was in India, people will go to cinema full of people. But now, when we make film, we don't survive. We don't get the money back from the audience because cinema not become an important things for our nation because they oh yeah, it's about victimhood. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So they don't see a new things. They don't learn from it. So cinema is not only to show what we are. You have to learn from the story. You have to learn nice dialogue, learn good story, good lesson. We don't have that yet in our film. So people they don't go to cinema often. If you show the film for entertainment, some people go, but it's only 2% of the popularity, which you don't get the money back from whatever you spend on the film. Yeah.
Right. That points me to a different question. Like, I mean, slightly connected to it. So, how is the whole academic system connected to the film studies and the film practice works in your country? I'm a little curious as a academic to know
Yeah.
about it. Like, whether you
Yes.
have, because
Very
being an
new. When
academic,
I
you are the perfect person to answer it.
2015, I went back to Kurdistan, and I was part of the establishment to build a film school at university. We did that. I taught for 4 years, and one generation graduated when I was teaching them. Only I taught 4 years, from 2015 to 2019. And still, they have a, but it's a very limited. Only we do have about 50, 60, 70 students now, or maybe more because of 4 years. It's about 100 students. So 100 students in only in my city and Erbil the same, and we don't have an door. So it's only we have to have two university, two department, faculty in all Kurdistan for 5 million people, 100 students in 4 years. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not changing anything. And
It's
we do
not
not have,
proportional.
exactly, and we do not have a diploma or a small workshop or film school anywhere else. So it means it's slow progress. It's not growing fast or growing up quickly like any other country.
Any more questions? Uh, Please do ask your questions. Like it's just got almost 10 minutes left. Yeah.
أو شحنين بوين يروحوا.
I don't see any hands raising. So,
Okay, so we can call the open.
right. So I think then we would possibly conclude the session. Have you got any closing notes about?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity, Shami. It's nice to, hopefully, in some point after the pandemic, I will come there and I give
Sure,
a
sure, anytime.
practical. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's
We'll be more than happy.
next time. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All
Thanks a lot, Awad. I mean, actually, this is the last session of our month-long webinar series with the name Fragmented Nation. Finding cinematic voices. We had several resource persons from different parts of the world handling the sessions, starting from the father of Malaysian animation, Hassan Abdul Matlab, and then we had Ola Sukarnami, Nigerian filmmaker. Then we have had um, our common friend Rasli Delan, a Malaysian filmmaker who was talking about experimental cinema. And the last day we have Awad with us. So I personally see, we could cover a very vibrant spectrum, exploring films from different parts of the world, and especially focusing upon the point like uh, you know uh, how cinema transcends across the borders, and how what sort of stories every land got to say. And I think it was really a very hopeful session, and it was very useful for our students and the faculty members as well, because we got a very enlightened panel of resource persons. And I use this occasion to thank everybody, all the speakers and all the faculty members of Amrita Vishwavidyapitham who constantly worked, invested their efforts in making this possible. And thanks a lot, and all the attendees as well from different institutions. I thank them, and thanks a lot, Abad. And we'll end the session.